Okay, I think we're back to recording. I hope. Had to pause for a second. Number 6, realize that building trust and intimacy is key. So if you tell, this is something I have to constantly be disciplining myself in, but if you tell a system that you're going to do something, make sure that you do it. If you tell a system that you're going to be something, make sure that you be it. If you tell them that dress code is a particular thing, make sure that you abide by that. So just understand that, and that as you design alliance with them within a system, it's really important that you and your co-facilitator hold them to their designed alliance and keep them accountable, even if that makes you the bad guy sometimes. Keep it simple, but not simplistic. This will make more sense, I think, as you see outlines and flows of different group and team coaching options. Remain flexible on your timing. So for example, you might allot 30 minutes for a particular activity, but the group really needs 45, or you might allot 30 minutes and they only need 20. You want to stay consistent on your beginning time and your end time. You don't want to go over time. That's part of building trust and intimacy, but you also want to remain flexible within that timing. So you might have allotted an hour for completion of a group, but because you spent an hour on process around another activity, you can only do 30 minutes, and that's okay. Have a strong focus on the process and a light touch on direction. So be very, very clear about what you're covering, why you're covering it, and then focus a lot on process. You'll notice we try to do this in the on-sites with you guys. We'll spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes on a particular piece of content or information, but then we spend an hour on working with you in triads around your process. Let the group and the team do the work. It's not all about you. So the more work you do for them, the less effective the coaching is going to be. And you might feel like you saved them from something, but in the end you actually didn't. You might have actually done some harm. So let the group and team do the work, even if it becomes a little bit uncomfortable, even if it becomes a little anxious. You bring your non-anxious presence in, remind them of their alliance, and continue moving forward and deepening. Make sure you evaluate. So do a post survey or a follow-up interview and evaluate their satisfaction and how engaged they were in the process. Also evaluate how fully they thought they participated in the process and if they gave their best to it. And then follow up as a value add. So basically, follow up with an additional team coaching, with an email with some more resources for them, with whatever is resonant for you in your practice. Just make sure you follow up with acknowledgement. So here are a couple examples of some group and team coaching work that I've done. I thought you might be interested in a couple cross-cultural examples. This is one training that we did in sub-rural Lusaka, Zambia. And you can see here, close this, you can see here, just like you guys learned how to do acknowledgements, we taught them how to do acknowledgement lines. And that was one of the skills that was most meaningful to them and that they took away. Just like here, we have co-facilitators in the front and a horseshoe shape all around. We also used you can see the Post-it notes, the large Post-it notes we used to gather learning that was relevant, that we wanted them to stay grounded in. We engaged multiple generations in this coaching experience. I don't think you can see it in these pictures, but in the horseshoe, a mother and son sat together, and they wanted to first implement the coaching principles in their home and then start applying it to their surrounding community. So this is one. We took all of the supplies over in luggage. Every participant got a bag with books, crayons, a composition notebook, and some pens in it, as well as their flow, the information that was in the training. You can see Emily and I here leading like we do at other on-sites. And so what I want you to notice about this is just the foundational elements. There's a gift to make them feel welcome. The geography that we set up with our bodies is the same. We have a way for capturing and displaying relevant information. There's practical processes that work cross-culturally. Yeah, so there's one example. Another example is a group that we worked with both in their school. So this is a combination of group coaching and then a group coaching retreat. So there was ongoing group coaching that happened once a month in their schools. You can see them all sitting at tables. In this particular coaching activity, they were working on identifying their strengths and creating superpowers around those. We also taught them how to breathe and meditate to calm their anxiety, and so we could work with them from a non-anxious place. There were highly interactive, this is the retreat, there were highly interactive, really quick lessons around rapid resilience. So based on our laboratory agreement, we said, okay, failing is okay, and here's the way we want to be together around it. And we created an activity for that. Acknowledgement lines again here, teaching them that skill. Then we created crafts, coached them around emotional intelligence and overcoming blocks in their life. Teachers and students were coached together in groups. We did visualizations, guided imaginings, kind of like we did with you guys. This one in particular is called the My Heart meditation. So they all participated in that and then were coached around that. You can see we really enjoyed our time with them. We incorporated a lot of experience-assisted coaching with art and broke them down further into smaller groups to be coached. These last couple of pictures I wanted to mention specifically. This was right after a shooting happened outside of their school. And so we called in a few more coaches so that we could break down the groups into smaller sets of students, and called in our Lark Song certified coaches after the shooting happened to help the kids process through their grief and also just the realness of it and how they wanted to acknowledge what had happened and move forward in solving some problems at their school and making things better. So it was really beautiful. The reason that I wanted to show you this is that the school counselors actually requested that we come in and coach them around it rather than requesting more counselors come in. So sometimes I think because we are so rooted in what's called positive psychology, we think that we're only dealing with positive issues or consistently keeping people in positive emotion, and that's not true. We can deal with really deep, really hard issues through coaching very, very effectively, even with groups and teams. This example is two different retreats. There's a team retreat and a group retreat, but they happened at the same location in the same weekend. So the team retreat happened on Friday and Saturday, and the group retreat happened on Saturday and Sunday. This is our Lark Song team retreat at the beginning of this year. And then the group retreat is the LSCC Soul Care Skillshare retreat. So you can, what I want you to notice is the difference in postures, engagement, activities, planning, that sort of thing. Just visually, you can see you'll be able to see we're in the same spaces, but how we're interacting together is very different. So that was the team retreat. This is the group coaching retreat. You can see with the group coaching retreat, there's a lot more direction around structure so that the process can be managed really well. There are really intentional experiential activities, and things are broken up into very distinct chunks that'll help people process on a more individual level within a community. This is a group coaching experience with children called Superhero Camp. It's amazing. You can see the dynamics are very different here. Some of this is facilitation, some of it is coaching. All of it is positive psychology and positive sociology. Another thing, oops, we'll come back to that one. I wanted to show you was okay, yes. This is a group coaching retreat with some mothers that are retired moms and are trying to find and clarify purpose in their lives. So I wanted to show you the care and intention that goes into the spaces. They're so funny. The spaces that we choose and create for these retreats. They have some downtime to process through what they're learning and put it on these posters visually. And this group was just small. It was a lot smaller than some other ones that we do, just 4 ladies. And Jamie and I coached and she assisted. This is from a coaching retreat for a church where it was called Threshold, and women were doing art around what broke their heart and how they could be brave about stepping in and doing what God was calling them to do. This is another example. It's a short video of, see if you can see that these girls found common interest in their love for Queen. This was a teen coaching retreat that we did for teen girls at a cabin. They identified how they're motivated, what their core values were, how to overcome blocks and gremlins, and they created a poster that represented who they are and brought shoes that they could draw those values and motivations on. It was called Stepping Into Your Soul. And the shoes were a structure for every time they wore them to remind themselves of who they were and how they were stepping into those places and continuing to choose to do so. This is one group of the Stepping Girls and their coach, Laura. And then all the way to Appreciative Inquiry Summit. So this was a global Appreciative Inquiry Summit around positive education that I attended here in June 2018. There were about 800 people at this summit, but you can see some of the same foundational elements. There are round tables. At every round table, there's no more than 8 people. You'll notice that any of these group team coaching events, there are definitely no more than 15 people within a group, and there's a facilitator for each group of 15. So for example, at the Threshold Retreat, the art that I showed you, we had about 50 women there, and so there were roundtables of 8, so about 7 roundtables of 7 or 8 women. Each round table had a facilitator that had been trained in coaching skills and techniques and in how to gather data for that table and represent them well. You'll notice on these tables here, there are these bags with things in them that has clay, markers, felt, some self-care items, all in these bags on every table so that people can demonstrate their learning in lots of different ways. And so we'll get into appreciative inquiry a little bit more in the next lecture, but some ways that this is done with a group as big as 800 or thousands of people is that people get booklets that explain the process and have curious questions on them. They also, the instructions are listed on PowerPoint slides, and they break up the groups into different domains or different topics and trust that each group will take the time they need to develop that topic for the entire system. This is an example. These are just examples of different ways that people created to communicate in a minute or less what their team had come up with around a particular topic. Okay, so let me minimize some of these that we've already looked at. Okay, this is there are 2 things left here that I want to show you. One is a team coaching process that I'm currently working on and working alongside. And the other is how I set up the flow or the information for these group and team coaching events. So here's one example of a scheduled flow for the Threshold Retreat. We've got a basic schedule up at the top and then a breakdown here at the bottom with the timing, the activity that's going to be happening at the time, the people that need to be involved, and the resources that we need to have at the ready. So you'll notice that there's a lot of different things happening to establish trust and intimacy before we then design our alliance and introduce the workshop coaches. We then do acknowledgement lines. Anyway, you can see that it's simple, but not simplistic. It's flexible with its timing, but it's also clear so people know where they need to be and when they need to be there and what they need to be there with. I'd be more than happy to send you guys these examples too, if that would be helpful. This is the flow of a workshop, just a 90-minute workshop, that yoga and coaching workshop that I created with one of our LSCCs. That was highly successful and really, really fun. So you'll see we have a topic for each session. We create a yoga flow to go along with that topic, as well as a coaching intervention. And we teach the group some coaching skills. Now, this is an appreciative inquiry process that I'm currently moving through with a company. With every appreciative inquiry process, there's a steering committee that sets the initial agenda and prototype that we're going to work with the system as a whole. So this particular company is creating an entire new department around leadership development and business services. So we created a steering committee of professionals and experts, and you see the picture of that steering committee here. We went through the appreciative inquiry process with them, gathered all of their info, did pre and post surveys with them, pre-interviews with each of them individually. From the information we gathered at the first appreciative inquiry, we then had subgroups that were working on specific tasks that we touched in with, made sure we gathered information from them and held them accountable. And then what they decided to create together that they thought would serve their needs was a wilderness coaching excursion for executives or leaders. So we piloted that program with the company's leadership. Started off in this beautiful hotel. These are our coaches, Levi Huffman in the blue Artie shirt, and myself were the lead coaches on the trip, and Qatar McCarty with the gold fanny pack, Anthony Iyer with the hat were our assistant coaches. So we actually had 4 coaches facilitating a group of 8 participants over a period of about 4 days, 4 full days. We started off with Designed Alliance, Icebreaker, and De-Icer in a really comfortable, safe environment that catered to their strengths. We then moved into the wilderness for experiential coaching in the backcountry of southern Indiana. There was a lot of different opportunities for different learning styles, challenges, coaching around those challenges. So we had individual coaching on the trail as well as group and team challenges that they received coaching around as a system. This is individual coaching on the trail, challenges, more challenges, and then the system that we coached as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea of some practical examples. The only thing I couldn't give you pictures of are couples and family coaching, just to protect their privacy. But that can happen very, very easily. You just have to add in some things to your Designed Alliance. And it looks more like individual coaching sessions than it does necessarily one couples retreat or one family retreat, even though you could bring groups of couples together or families together when you're doing couples and family coaching. You're going to continue to do that on a regular basis, very similarly in process to how you do individual coaching. Okay, so after those practical examples, we want to look at what's next. Coach some teams and groups. Start a workshop, do a webinar, plan a retreat. It's a great way actually for you to start recruiting individual clients too, because you give them kind of a taste of what coaching is like in a setting that they know they share common interests with people, or they're motivated to show up there because it requires a lower commitment of time or money. But then they start realizing the impact of coaching through experiencing it. You can recruit some individual clients that way. Also, make sure to stay up to date on your workshop homework, specifically your Flipgrids and discussion boards, so that you don't pull any other cohort members behind, as well as your triad calls and supervision calls, and continue recruiting clients and banking your hours. Remember, you have to have at least 6 different clients. Groups and teams count as clients on your roster, but every group or team only counts as 1. So you need 6 total clients, and a total of 30 direct coaching hours. With all of that being said, that is the end of this lecture. Thanks for tuning in.